Prepare yourselves for a battle of epic proportions between two titans. Feast upon their voices and revel in their words. This is Dueling Ogres.
Hello, Ogres, and welcome to episode 192. Thank you for joining us as always on this Barbara Ann Wednesday evening, Earth date July 10th, 2019. I'm your host, Remington Hitchcock, and with me as always is my co-host, Brandon Full. Say hello, Brandon.
I'm your host, Brad.
He's making fun of me because of the part that I cut out where I screwed up saying my own last name.
No, I just screwed up there totally by myself.
Yeah, that's what he did. I certainly didn't look like an asshole, but he did. We got Chad with us again, too.
Yarp.
Hi, Chad.
Yarp.
Chad's decided to go the YARP-only approach this episode.
That's fair. It would probably be far more interesting than the previous episode. Oh
my.
Just kidding.
That's all downhill from here now.
I really enjoyed editing the last episode. I also enjoy editing episodes when we have three people because it's easier.
Yeah, there's less dead time to have to edit out, right?
Yeah. It's less me and Brandon just staring awkwardly at each other while we try to figure out how to be funny.
Yeah.
I knew you were using me for something.
Yep, you're just here to fill dead space.
You're like a sexy poster.
It's almost like all my work experiences prepared me for this.
It's like covering up a hole in the prison wall while we slowly try to escape.
I'm glad you got what reference I was making there.
Thank you. I'm glad that I did too.
So let's flip the script, Remington. What have you been up to?
Holy shit. See, yeah, I don't know if I can. He's pointing at me now, guys. Putting me on the spot. His hands just. No, I think he might be casting a spell.
I was.
All those somatic components. What have I been up to? God, have I actually accomplished anything this week?
You put an air conditioner in here.
I did. I put a little air conditioner in here. It's one of those in-room air conditioners that, you like put the vent through the... Chad, what is that fucking accordion pipe called? Do you even know?
That's like really cool accordion pipe.
Okay. You're supposed to know these things, Mr. fucking working in construction and shit.
Yeah. Construction mercenaries only know so much.
He's like, I'm not in HVAC, okay?
But I could be.
But don't ever call it HVAC because they hate that.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I always call it HVAC when it comes up in conversation, which is rare to never.
Yeah. Because realistically, what the fuck do you know about HVAC?
I thought HVAC was something to do with Ghostbusters for a long time.
That's fair. I mean, it sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, apparently many of them hate it when you say HVAC.
Well, it sounds like they're just uppity.
I mean, I think so. What have I been doing? I edited the podcast. I took some kitties to get some more dewormer and some shots. I don't know if it was rabies or something. I don't know.
Or just tequila.
Or just I took some kittens to get some tequila.
Meow.
They ate the worm, but they played with it for 20 minutes first.
Aw.
It was adorbs.
Kittens are adorable,
Yeah.
especially when they're drunk.
Yeah.
Everybody get your kittens drunk. Somewhere there's one kitten listening to this podcast that's like, fuck yeah.
Other than that, I don't even know, man. I helped somebody do some Streamlabs chatbot things, helped them set that stuff up and basically gave them a hardcore crash course one night. I recorded some community leader video showing my community leaders how to do some things. And that's it. Just working and stuff.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're getting ready to... The hot dog shop is located right on the river. And there is an event called Riverfront Roar, which is basically a lot of speedboat racing, from what I understand. That happens in Marietta. So we're ramping up for that and getting ready for it. So we're going to be doing like an easier, quicker menu, offering a couple of different things. We're also going to do breakfast on Saturday and maybe Sunday, I think.
Hmm.
And just kind of, squeezing down the menu for the event. That way we can bust stuff out a little faster.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, like, no hamburgers and grilled chicken because they take like 7 minutes to put together as a whole. So, from laying a patty onto the grill and then letting it cook and building out your stuff and then wrapping it and out the window, it takes about 7 minutes.
So you anticipate being pretty busy then?
Yes. Yeah. Lots and lots of drinks. It's supposed to be fucking hot this weekend. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been kind of focusing on that. I printed up 50 menus. I had designed the menu for them, and I'm pretty proud of it, to be perfectly honest. Have I shown you the menu yet, Brandon?
You showed me the work in progress.
Okay. Here, hold on. Let me pull it up real quick. I know this is super exciting for all of our listeners.
If you donate at the $10 Patreon level, you can see a picture of Remington's menu.
Yeah.
That's the only perk.
Yeah.
So look at it slowly, I guess.
My big head's in the way. There we go. So this is so it'll print. So this is the front and the back.
Okay.
So it's printed like a booklet. So this would be where the fold is.
Oh, nice. Berry Kids juice boxes?
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'm all for that.
Yeah, they're okay. I'm more of an apple juice kind of guy myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like with the Pioneer logo up top, you should have tried to insert a died of dysentery joke.
Yeah.
I actually didn't design the logo itself. Otherwise, there would have been a dysentery joke.
I mean, everybody's going to be swimming in the Ohio for the weekend, so
There you go.
it's kind of also a public health service.
Right? Indeed. See, we're very aware of our patrons. So yeah, I mean, that's all I've been doing. What have you been doing? Fucking take this baton and run with it because I'm boring as hell.
I'm taking this baton and I'm going to talk about Stardew Valley for the next 45 minutes because that's what I've been playing on the Nintendo Switch still.
I mean, you buy a Switch and you just play Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm in the fall.
I wish I was in the fall
Yeah,
right
me too,
now.
right? I mean, the new air conditioner is nice, but damn.
I've got yams, eggplants, cranberries, and pumpkins.
Wow. That's really impressive.
Yeah, it's a pretty full farm. No, it's great because I can play it in bed. So I lay on my stomach and I listen to podcasts and I play Stardew Valley. I'm loving the Nintendo Switch. They actually just announced that they're releasing a Nintendo Switch Lite.
I was about to ask you if you had heard of that yet.
Yeah, I just read it here waiting on Remington to install this air conditioner. It's going to be $199 and you can't play it in docked mode. It's only handheld mode.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So there's no vibration on it. It's just a very stripped down Nintendo Switch.
So how much does the regular Nintendo Switch run?
$299.
So for saving $100, it's not dockable.
Right. You
Basically.
lose being able to play on the TV.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like I'm glad that they chose the price point, but it seems like it's a lot of money to just not play on the TV.
Yeah, it's more, I think, appealing to the handheld crowd.
Yeah.
More appealing. If I hadn't got my income tax money in and splurged on the Nintendo Switch and I was just looking to buy one, I might be a little more tempted in the $199 model.
Yeah.
Because I play it 99% handheld. I mean, I've played Breath of the Wild and I'll play that on my TV sometimes. So
Yeah.
I am playing stuff besides Stardew Valley. Shaking
that's
my
good.
finger at the world. I am.
See, I thought you were just playing Stardew Valley, and I was like, you paid $300 just to play Stardew all the time.
I'm predominantly playing Stardew Valley, but I'm not only playing Stardew Valley, to be clear. I've also been watching Stranger Things Season 3, which is really good.
I was going to say, how is that?
I'm only 3 episodes in so far because I can't sit down and watch in long chunks,
Yeah.
which is hilarious because I can sit and play Stardew Valley for like 3 hours without stopping, just listening to podcasts.
Right.
But when it comes to trying to watch something like Stranger Things, I'll watch one episode at like 50 minutes and then be like, okay, I've watched enough for today.
Right.
But it's really good so far. I'm really enjoying it.
I've only seen the second season.
You will have seen enough to catch up with the third season.
Yeah.
You don't need to have seen the first season. If you've seen the second and you understand what's going on, then season 3 will be fine.
I mean, I doubt that I'll get to actually watching it. I enjoyed the second season, but I don't have Netflix. I watched it while I was working at the mattress store.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you don't really have that option anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have a Netflix account. But in the second season, they kind of closed the portal, didn't they?
Yes.
Okay.
So the third season, and this is episode 1. So if you haven't watched Stranger Things, this is all revealed in the first 15 minutes of episode 1. So I'm not really spoiling anything.
Well, unless they haven't seen it at all yet. So then
Unless
you
they
might
haven't
be
seen
spoiling.
season 2.
Or season 3. Wait.
This is all revealed in the first 15 minutes of season 3, episode 1.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm spoiling that. Chad is tongue-a-lingusing the microphone.
Yeah, it's weird. I can hear it.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But also slightly titillating, if I
Yeah.
may.
Yeah, you may.
So they close the rift at the end of season 2. Russians are now opening the rift in season 3.
Oh, the fucking Ruskies.
Yeah, it takes place in 1985, I think.
Yes,
Are you watching Stranger Things also?
I am. I have watched all of the third season except for the final episode.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't finished it yet. Waiting. Just haven't had a decent time where I've been free to sit down and just have nobody distract me for the final hour.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you think of it so far?
I really like it. They must have had a hell of a good time rebuilding a mall from 1985.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Why is that?
just
It's just a mall from 1985. That's part of like an underlying story is that the mall, they built a mall because this takes place, I think, 3 years after season 2.
1 year.
Oh, is it 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so far they've been progressing through the kids' lives 1 year at a time. And partly for story, but also because of the lengthening time of the production. Is we got the first 2 seasons around Halloween, and that's what time it was for all the major characters in the setting of Stranger Things in the
Yeah.
town of Hawkins. So this one, they moved it to the summer because they wanted the kids out of school. It was going to be the grand opening of the mall, and they're trying to keep it themed with whatever season they're releasing it in, which I kind of appreciate that from a production standpoint. It seems really cool on the part of the show organizers to pay attention to those kind of details.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing, of course, if I was in a mall in 85, I have no memory of it because I was 2,
Right, yeah.
but I definitely remember being younger than 10 and up through my early teenage years running through different malls. And there are elements there in that mall's design in the show, and you can see, oh, this is a brand new experience. Here's the unbridled 80s capitalism at its finest, just gutting small towns,
Right.
Yeah.
main streets, which is kind of a subplot to the show. And it's a very nostalgic thing. The show is playing to its strengths by kicking up that angle of it.
Something I've noticed with this season especially is there's so much music. Have you
Yes.
noticed that they use music to great effect? I mean, in one episode it'll be like 5 or 6 separate musical breaks of different songs.
Yes, that is true. There are definitely some nostalgic music moments from the first 2 seasons. This one has a bigger focus on that. Although I do, since you mentioned music, I might as well mention the soundtrack besides actual licensed songs coming out of the 1980s. Somebody posted a status on Facebook that was a music description subtitle from the show, and it was kind of funny because we knew roughly where they were in their episode without them mentioning that they were watching Stranger Things, without any context clues. It was just ominous synth music continues in parentheses, and we knew they were like on episode 4 or 5 of Stranger Things.
Right.
So it's weird that it gets that specific for a service for the hearing impaired.
Yeah.
And that is something that I find funny because I like to watch some shows and movies with subtitles on now because I want to see what makes it in the subtitles.
Yeah.
And you get some of these absolutely off the wall descriptions of either what's playing in the background or a noise that might be key to the plot. and some of them are just bonkers. There has to be a list out there that somebody has compiled of just weird ass subtitles that pop up in movies.
Oh, I'm sure there is. We watch subtitles most of the time because Ginger, for the longest time, would keep her TV kind of low so she wasn't like waking anybody up in the house. And she just developed the habit of having them on, and now she prefers to have subtitles on.
I always have subtitles on if
Oh.
I'm watching a TV show or a movie.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know that, actually.
Yeah, well, my hearing's not the greatest,
Yeah.
one. Two, I like being able, like Chad mentioned, to see things that you wouldn't catch otherwise. And there are points where it will spoil things
Yeah.
by having, like, where to label who the characters are. The
Yeah.
most recent thing I can think of is when I watched Good Omens. There's a female narrator. And it wasn't until episode 2, I watched the first episode without subtitles. Episode 2, the female narrator comes on, and it's just labeled her as God.
Ah, yeah.
So I had no idea that the female narrator was supposed to be God until I saw the subtitles. And I was like, oh, okay, weird.
Yeah, well,
They make absolutely,
giveaway.
they make zero mention of the fact that it's God throughout the entire season.
Well, in the opening credits, it does say Francis McDormand as the voice of God. So if you
Does it?
so if you recognize, now they never do explicitly state that God is narrating, but if you recognize her name, then
Yeah.
or recognize her,
Her
voice
voice,
from
yeah.
other parts that she's done, then it's kind of spoiled. But I do get what you're saying in that, where it's like, oh, you don't know who this is yet. And I think it's funny that you will come across shows that also try to mask that try to keep a reveal by like either glossing over who's doing the talking with a subtitle. I wish I could think of specific examples. One I can think of where they played it as additional humor on top of the humor that was already in the show was I'm sure you've seen Archer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember what season it was, fairly early on, where they could never get the one woman's name down because she was constantly switching it from Cheryl to Carol and back and forth.
Okay.
The subtitles change. So the subtitles will alternate between calling her Cheryl or Carol,
Oh, that's awesome.
and then also switch her name when she switches her name to something else.
Nice.
So the subtitles are just an additional layer of the joke, and they knew that going in,
yeah.
which I think is eerily prescient of the show writers to say, like, yeah, we're going to take this level of humor even deeper, like just for those people who have the subtitles on.
Yeah, breaking that kind of fourth wall barrier of having the subtitles. That's fun. I like that.
And I think at one point they even have her name, like all of her names, just with a backslash between them.
Nice.
I also, as a final thing, saw Spider-Man this week.
What?
Far From Home. And Chad, you saw Spider-Man also, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
It must be nice to be able to go see movies and stuff.
It was pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, I
It
bet
is
was.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's great.
It's a feat you should take the next time you level up, Remington.
Oh,
Yeah.
apparently, yeah. Yeah.
Don't
I
put
think-
any more
I'm
stats.
Pretty sure that's not in any of the rule books that I play by.
No, it's in 5e.
No.
You have to be 8th level or above. C movie is the name of the feat.
C movie.
Yeah.
Are you still stuck in 4th edition? We have all agreed that we moved on.
If I were stuck in 4th edition, I'd kill myself.
You would have to use your action cards to kill yourself.
Yeah. But it would be fine because I'd paper cut and bleed to death.
But you couldn't do it without a mini. Like,
Mm.
you need minis on the board to be able to do
Yeah.
it too.
That's true. Fortunately, I never played 4th edition.
So what did you think of Spider-Man, Chad? Do we want to do it without spoilers? I feel like we should do it without spoilers because it's only been out a week. I mean, we can tell the listeners to skip forward if they haven't seen it, but I feel like it's still a little early. I'll put this one on you.
I'm a little torn on the subject because talking about the spoilers is fun, but I mean, it'll be almost 2 weeks before anybody listens to this, right?
Yeah, that's true. It'll take Rim a little bit to edit.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
It'll be what, like a month and a half?
Fuck you guys.
The next Spider-Man will be out by then.
The last podcast literally only took like 3 days.
We will be well into phase 4 of Marvel's plan.
Maybe if somebody would learn how to edit the podcast. Chad?
Yeah, Chad.
Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
He's like, when did I get fucking roped into being an actual guest now?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it with spoilers.
I guess we
Skip
could-
10 minutes ahead if you're... Remington always flags in the episodes where we talk about stuff, don't you, typically?
I do for the YouTube video, and it'll be down in the description below. So if you just want to skip to the next part, you can just look at the description and find the next bit of numbers.
Yep, there you go. So yeah, what were your unbridled opinions of Spider-Man?
I very much enjoyed it. It kind of comes across as an 80s rom-com. Like
It was a tour de force. I just wanted to say that. I'm sorry. Continue.
He's not sorry. It's very much in the vein of something like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's got that same kind of vibe to it. It does kind of give you a better wrap up of the after effects of Thanos doing his snap. And they have another name for it, which I'm not entirely on board with. I think it's kind of weird.
The blip?
But yes, like in the show, everybody who went through it calls that 5-year gap the blip, which is a little weird. But
it makes sense, though, because your average person wouldn't know about Thanos snapping his fingers. They wouldn't know to call it the snap.
Yeah, this is true. I feel like they have to have some information about that, though, because they knew that like even the kids doing their early morning high school show kind of wrap up on the school year reference, oh, hey, all these superheroes got together and brought back everybody who disappeared for 5 years, so that they must have gotten some sort of story. I wonder whose job it was to disseminate that information.
Yeah, that's true. The movie opens up with Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. And it says in memoriam in Comic Sans, like you mentioned earlier, Chad.
Yes.
And then it shows like Iron Man. Who else does it show? It shows Captain America.
Shows
they think
Iron
Captain
Man,
America's dead.
Captain America, Black Widow, like a really potato quality picture of Vision.
Oh yeah.
Which is glorious because like from the first moment you see that Comic Sans all in lowercase letters in memoriam, and then you just get this bombardment of images that look like the first things that would come up in a really terrible Google image search. And you're like, this is a high school production. And you're 100% right. That's exactly what it is.
At one point, they show Iron Man twice. The second time they show him, there's like bald eagles behind him and a waving American flag.
Yes, they're like the faded silhouettes of doves
is
flying across the image, which is followed by a picture of candles with Getty Image stamped right across.
Yeah, the Getty Image was an awesome addition to that.
That's beautiful. That's so good.
And it, like, I know exactly what it is, but at the same time, I'm also thinking, has high school really not changed that much for the AV groups? And apparently the answer is no.
So
that sounds like somebody who was really tapping into their high school AV roots.
Oh yes,
for sure.
I don't want to go through the movie beat for beat or anything, but the basic plot you can tell from the trailer is that Peter Parker is going on a school trip with the science club or something like that?
Yeah, they intended to go to Italy to see like the Leonardo da Vinci Museum.
Yeah.
Was the intent of their trip. And of course that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so he decides not to take his super suit with him, which his Aunt May ends up packing for him anyway.
And I like that he has a support structure. He's not trying to hide his identity from the most important people in his life, that he has, Aunt May is on board, is actively encouraging him to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Of course, he has Ned, the guy in the chair.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's completely alone, which we sort of had to suffer through in some of the previous Spider-Man iterations. I like that he has a small support structure of people that are in on it. And I like that they established that early.
Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, I haven't seen Homecoming, but it is refreshing, I guess, would be the word for it, to see that, Aunt May knows, because it's always posited that she is kept in the dark about his extracurriculars as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
It's a really fresh take on Spider-Man, I feel like, for the movies anyway. I'm sure the comics have done it a bunch.
Yeah, I know that was one of the bigger reveals and the comics are kind of notorious for, oh, these people found out. Well, now we're going to wipe their memories somehow.
Yeah.
And then everybody finds out, we're going to retcon it somehow. And I think one of the more egregious instances was during the comic Civil War storyline, Peter coming out hardcore in support of superhero registration and then does a public reveal of his identity. Then he gets all this incredible backlash from these villains who are like, oh, well, he's a science professor at this school. We're just going to go attack this school because we know where he is all the time now.
Yeah.
So those were like real repercussions that Peter had to deal with for signing up as a registered superhero. And then a couple months after that, like some weird storyline happens and then some interdimensional demon thing wipes the collective memories of everybody who knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker, and now we're back at ground zero again. It just seems silly to go back and forth.
That's the Marvel way, though. That's the comic book way.
Yeah.
It's just, we're going to have this huge, crazy reveal. We're going to sell a bunch of issues of this, and then we're going to retcon it so we can go back and then do something crazy again.
Unfortunately, yes. That's more common than I would like. And
Yeah.
probably why I don't buy as many comics as some other people.
So what did you think of Mysterio as a character? Because they get to Europe and Nick Fury keeps trying to call Spider-Man. Spider-Man doesn't answer. So they get to Europe and then Nick Fury shows himself and is like, hey, we've met this guy named Quentin Beck who's left his home universe and has come to our universe to defeat these elementals that are going to attack Earth.
I really appreciated having a villain who wasn't exactly like every other villain we've seen so far, and having Spider-Man have to deal with the pressure of, hey, we lost some key Avengers. We lost Black Widow. We lost Tony Stark. Captain America's changed shields. We know the Falcon is Captain America now, but we don't know where he is or what he's doing.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man's just kind of in the dark. He wants to do his friendly neighborhood thing. Well, now he's kind of being tossed into the spotlight and even presented with the idea of, by the way, there's a multiverse now, and here's somebody kind of similar to Tony Stark, maybe with a little bit of Doctor Strange thrown into the mix, and he's here to help us out. What other superheroes are here? And there's even a scene where Spider-Man is asking Nick Fury, like, what about this hero? What about this person? What about that? And he just gets a response of like, they're off world. They're busy. Don't mention that person's name.
Yeah.
And you can see the pressure building on him where he's done some pretty important things. He has contributed to some major wins for the Avengers, but that's a lot to put on a kid.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the movie seems to fall back on. I think to its credit is it keeps following how Peter just wants to be on the school trip because he just wants to try to kiss Mary Jane on top of the Eiffel Tower. That's his whole point to the entire trip, is he wants to give her a necklace and kiss her on top of the Eiffel Tower after he tells his feelings for her.
That would be my only reason.
To kiss Mary Jane?
Yeah, on top of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured you would want to be a bachelor in Europe during the summer.
Nah.
Because Europeans love Americans.
That was a good callback to the movie, Chad.
It
Remington wouldn't get it because he hasn't seen Spider-Man.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very proud of that callback.
Yeah. It's great to have time.
So the spoiler here, the first big spoiler, is that Mysterio turns out to be evil.
Oh boy.
Which, if you knew anything about the comics,
Yeah.
I know we discussed it before, whether they would pull a 380, a 360, a 180, whatever.
That would be
Pull
180.
Some sort of skateboard trick. Well, it turns out he's evil. He's been using Iron Man, Tony Stark tech. He was the one that created the illusion tech that Tony used that he called Barf in one of the movies. I don't remember.
Civil War.
Was it Civil War?
It was the scene that opened with a younger CGI augmented Robert Downey Jr. having a discussion with his parents before his parents were killed by the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
So Jake Gyllenhaal is the technical genius behind that augmented holographic tech that he designed for Tony Stark and was then fired for being quote unquote unstable.
Yeah.
So he has built a following of other former jilted employees that have been kicked out of Stark Industries over the years. And they've just decided they've had enough of being the smart people in the room that nobody listens to because they're not superheroes. So Mysterio is their answer as a group to how they feel about superheroes on the whole.
Yeah.
And I liked that as a motivation, that there was more than just Mysterio at work, that he had a support group of other people. And even if he was the head and the face of it, that he had people behind the scenes who all kind of had a united goal of, yeah, let's give the people a really cool hero to look up to. We're going to lie to their faces, but we're going to do it convincingly, and they'll never know the difference.
That was a good twist, that he was working with people. It wasn't just him, which you find out that the elementals, at this point, he's fought all of the elementals, including the fire elemental, which was supposed to be the big one they had to watch out for. This was the world-ending one.
Right.
It turns out that he's been using he can't fly or anything. He's just been using his hologram technology to make it look like he's fighting, and he's using drones to cause the destruction. So they're synchronizing drones with the illusions where you see like the water elemental will destroy something. It's actually drones that are gunning it down or exploding things.
Right. Which was a really cool take on a villain.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the plot twist coming a mile away, and it wasn't really even a plot twist. If you knew anything about Mysterio, you knew that he was going to be the villain.
And I think it's kind of a strength of the movie that they didn't try to set up like a red herring of a villain.
Yeah.
That they didn't try to make you think it was somebody who ended up not being involved or not being a villain. That even though you thought, like, let's say you came into this completely cold with no prior knowledge of the Spider-Man universe and maybe thought Mysterio was legit and on the level with everybody, he still did come across as a personable guy and looked like he was genuinely involved in taking care of Spider-Man, organizing things with what was left of S.H.I.E.L.D. under Nick Fury and Maria Hill. But I was going somewhere with this. I'm trying to think of what it was. I'm bad at this.
They did kind of set up the elementals as the villains in the movie, though. But he defeats the fire elemental like an hour and 20 minutes into the movie, and the movie's a 2-hour movie.
Right. And that's where I was going with it. So even though the elementals are supposed to be this big villain, they're still at least connected to Mysterio in some way.
Yeah.
It's not like a complete throwaway side character or something that has no connection to the main villain at all. I guess that's kind of one of the stronger points to me about it.
Yeah, well, and once you find out Mysterio is the main bad guy, the movie just hits like rocket pace. It's just, we got to get him. Spider-Man's going to go fight him. Holograms, boom, 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 boom. Done.
I do feel, though, that is, in a way, like as I'm sitting there waiting for the credits, rolling through the credits, and you look at all those visual effects artists and everything else, you really think like, man, how many of these guys would like to do exactly what Mysterio and his crew did to Hollywood? And isn't this just Hollywood kind of flipping them the bird? They're like, hey, look what a dozen people can do on the fly. And how many months does it take at render farms and
to make Spider-Man
and how many
across the city
16-hour days, day after day after day, does it take some of these poor visual artists to render that much and get one of these movies onto the screen? Like, hey, just be Jake Gyllenhaal. He'll take care of you. You can do this in seconds. It's not
he's
that
in
hard.
shape and he's handsome too. So do you want to tackle the end credit scene then?
Sure.
Because we're probably going on close to 10 minutes, if not a little longer, for what we're talking about here.
Sure, we can
So
kind of brush into some of the implications that those set up.
You don't care about the end credit spoilers, Rim?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so this I think is great. There are 2 credits scenes. There's one in the mid credits and one at the very tail end, and neither one of them is a throwaway joke like we've had in previous Marvel movies, where maybe the mid credit scene might have some crucial story information and there's a post credit scene that has absolutely nothing to do with
That's just something silly.
story elements. It's just something silly or something extra that doesn't affect the story in any way. Both of these scenes change the outcome of the movie you just watched.
Yes.
And
Make it almost worth a rewatch knowing what is revealed.
right. And that's cool to me, and kind of an indication that Marvel is kicking things off of like, yep, we're going into a new phase.
Yeah.
Things are going to be different by the time you see a Marvel movie on screen next.
So the first end credit scene is Peter Parker and Mary Jane end up together at the end of the movie. She knows that he's Spider-Man and they end up dating. So the end credit scene is him swinging around New York with her. And then he drops her off and he has to go be Spider-Man. And at this moment, you hear like a breaking news. God, it gave me chills to see. It really did. You see like a breaking news thing on the Times Square banner. And it pops up and it's the Daily Bugle. And it's J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes.
Which was like a holy shit moment.
Yeah, that's fantastic. He does such a good.
And they framed him like an Alex Jones style.
Yeah,
like
really.
he's in a room and it's all green and he's like, and next on the news, it's Spider-Man.
And the way it's introduced too, like the news anchor that brings it up on this huge public screen, it's like, breaking news, this just in from the controversial independent news site, thedailybugle.com. So they really play that up as like he's this renegade internet content creator, which is kind of funny.
He lost his job at the Bugle. He just turned the entire media empire into an internet farce.
Yeah.
I'm completely obsessed with Spider-Man.
So Mysterio, before Mysterio is defeated, manages to get video of Spider-Man from the neck down, and he edits it like on the fly, I guess, because he's a genius before he dies. He edits it to make it look like Spider-Man is the one ordering the drones on the city to attack London. So J. Jonah Jameson is like Spider-Man's the villain, and he's back to Spider-Man being a villain, and the entire city thinks that Spider-Man is the one that was controlling these drones.
And not only that, but then he plays even more video, which is Mysterio giving out Spider-Man's name, and it's accurate.
Yeah, with a photo.
Wow.
So he says, "This your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is none other than Peter Parker," and it just throws one of his high school yearbook pictures up there on the big screen in Times Square. And the tail end of that credit scene is Spider-Man just grabbing his head and going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it cuts out the fuck, but of course it's a what the fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Spider-Man has been outed to the world as Peter Parker.
Oh.
Then the other end credit scene, you have Nick Fury and Maria Hill driving, and then one of them, it's Nick Fury at first, turns. How does it go?
It's Maria Hill first, kind of shakes her head back and forth a little bit, and then her features start to change. Her skin turns green, and then she gets all these lines on her face, and then her ears turn into points. She's a Skrull. And then she turns and addresses Nick Fury, but calls him Talos, who was the Skrull from Captain Marvel. And then his facial features start to change, and it's Ben Mendelsohn as Talos from Captain Marvel.
Huh.
And they start talking about how they think they did, and you get the impression that they're there to fill the space left by Nick Fury while he's busy doing something else. And like, well, how do you think the kid handled it? Oh, the kid handled it fine. Yeah. And she's like, well, you need to call him. So Talos takes out a cell phone and calls up Nick Fury and is giving him a rundown of like, yeah, we yeah, we gave Tony's glasses to the kid. That seemed to go over okay. Some things happened that we didn't plan on, but it's been handled. Earth is still here, and he's trying to downplay the fact that they almost turned London into a smoking crater. But then he finishes up that message, and it takes you to Samuel L. Jackson hanging up the phone with a sigh, and he looks like he's sitting in a lawn chair with a coconut drink on a beach somewhere. He just sighs again, puts the phone and the drink down, stands up and stretches, and this sandy, sunlit beach fades away into a hologram interface. And he stretches and turns around and walks out of this room into this giant spaceport-looking place with Skrulls walking around in official-looking uniforms and suits of armor. And he just kind of says, "Well, somebody get me my shoes. Let's get back to work." He just claps his hands together a couple times and starts walking off down the hallway. So Nick Fury's in some sort of Skrull space command somewhere.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's where we're at with the end of Phase 3 going into Phase 4. Everybody knows that Spider-Man's Peter Parker, and Nick Fury is working with the Skrulls, who are good guys, on a space station somewhere. Now, Bucky, I was talking to him after I saw Spider-Man, and he said that Nick Fury, he thinks, is starting S.W.O.R.D., which is the space version of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
And so that's what he's doing up there.
Okay. So
I'm not familiar enough with the comics to know.
I'm not either. So that's new information to me. I would have assumed he's doing something along the lines of S.H.I.E.L.D., but with a more galactic approach. But that's just me guessing. That's me having no knowledge of like a comic equivalent.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay, so you guys have talked about Spider-Man for like 25,000 minutes now.
Yeah, roughly.
And I was really quiet because I didn't get to watch it. So I just had the whole movie spoiled for me, and now I'm a miserable shell of a human being.
And all of our listeners did too.
There's some additional content we can go back over. And
yeah, we glossed over a lot of it.
Yeah, I believe you. No, it sounds like it's a lot of fun to watch.
It is.
If I can get a chance to watch it in theater,
don't worry, everyone out there. We will go blow by blow after this podcast is over and just completely ruin Remington for the entirety of the film.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chad. But I want to talk about a different film. So Disney has been on this kick of doing live action versions of their movies.
Mm-hmm.
We have got The Lion King. We are getting, we have Aladdin now. And they are doing Mulan. It's slated for March 27th, 2020 release date. And we just watched a teaser trailer for it. The cast is Yifei Liu is the main actress who is playing Mulan. Director and writer is Nikki Caro, Caro. And you can find the trailer in the link down in the description below. So what was your initial reaction to the trailer itself?
It looks a lot more like a historical movie than it does a Disney adaptation.
Yeah.
There's nothing indicating any presence of the more Disneyfied aspects of the animated version.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of jives with some of what I've heard friends talk about with this film. Like there's no Mushu.
Yeah.
There's no there aren't supposed to be any of the songs.
Yeah.
Or I think if they are going to have songs, they're going to be severely cut down, not like how many they had in the animated version.
Yeah.
And they're doing that to supposedly, I say that kind of with a dose of skepticism because it's Disney, but supposedly making it more like a historical film. And I believe that from watching that trailer. That looks like you could call it something completely different and still have a historical movie set in China. It wouldn't have to be Mulan.
And it doesn't look, I mean, from the trailer, from the shots of the show, it doesn't look like she's disguising herself much as a man.
Not really.
So, I mean, a lot of the scenes that they show of her fighting prowess, she's just full-blown not really hiding it. I think there was one little scene where she was confronting a soldier. Maybe she was dressed like a man there, but for the better part of it, she was dressed like in a kimono style. Of course, a kimono would be
Kimono is Japanese.
Japanese, but the same style of not really wearing an armor so much.
Yeah. Like she had like a light fitting tunic on almost.
Yeah. So the cinematography is fucking beautiful. Like just the color palettes that they were using throughout the entire thing, gorgeous. I mean, it's a feast for the eyes for sure.
The other thing I noticed about it is that the army, the armor being used by the Chinese army in that is almost exactly the same as a piece that I'm in the process of building right now.
Oh, really?
It's laced lamellar D plate.
Yeah.
And so I'm like fully intending to find still images in high quality to pull out of that trailer. Like, okay, I'm going to look at this for 10 minutes now and see if I can figure out something to use in my own design or just like
something for inspiration. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he has a piece that last week he brought in just a couple of these pieces that he had worked on. And now he has since coated the rest of them and scorched the, oh shit, what is it?
Are you filming this? Do you want me to hold it up?
No, I'm not filming it.
I'll hold it up to the microphone. Here you go, everybody.
What did you say?
Linseed oil.
Linseed, thank you. But he has since taken a lot of the pieces and scorched the linseed oil to it, so it's got the black hue to it now. And he has it laced up, and it looks like, I don't know, there's 30, 40 pieces there laced up?
66.
66?
Yes, it is 66, actually.
I counted it.
Having a little Rain Man moment there, Brandon.
66. I counted it.
It's definitely 66. 66 pieces of armor. Armor plating. Definitely armor plating.
So yeah, that is a known historical method of lengthening the amount of time you'd have to go between doing some like big maintenance overhauls on body armor. We know one historical method of sealing it is to coat the metal in linseed oil and raise the temperature of the metal to where it starts to polymerize that linseed oil.
Right, scorching it on there. That's what I said, Chad.
It just kind of creates this very glass-like outer layer that darkens the steel, keeps it from rusting, and then you can buff it up with some beeswax or another similar thing.
These scenes right here, like yes. It looks like they're in a tea house or something like that. They've got a lot of the
and everything looks beautiful until the Fire Nation attacks.
Right? Those circular rice paper lanterns all put up in the background. These amazing costumes. I mean, just fucking gorgeous. It's so lovely.
So what is the point of remaking it as Mulan if it barely follows the plot of Mulan?
Well, Mulan is an actual historical figure from Chinese history.
Mm-hmm.
Her story just has the bare bones of what you see in the animated version. The real woman is a little more badass than that.
Yeah.
So I know I'd read this story before. I kind of pulled up a Wikipedia a Wikipedia page to help me remember some of the points of it. But Hua Mulan is a legendary Chinese warrior from the Northern and Southern Dynasties period, 420 to 589 of Chinese history, originally described in the Ballad of Mulan. In the ballad, Hua Mulan, disguised as a man, takes her aged father's place in the army. Mulan fought for 12 years and gained high merit, but she refused any reward and retired to her hometown. So that's just kind of a basic overview of it.
Here I had paused the scene where it looks like she's in full armor, and it looks like she is giving some instruction to a young man at sword point.
And she has her hair up.
Yeah.
She also kind of looks like she's dressed like a man there.
Yeah.
Or she could just be wearing the armor. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, in some of these action shots, she has on, like, most people would call it a skirt, but it's tassets
Yeah,
So,
an armored skirt.
An armored skirt that protects your thighs.
Yeah.
So she's definitely not hiding the fact that she's a woman, but she still has on some armor and looks like she's kicking some major ass.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks really good. This is the first that I've seen of it. I was looking up stories and stuff while the two of them were chit-chatting about Spider-Man, and I was like, oh man. Because I had heard about the live-action version of Mulan already, but I was like, okay, I'm going to give it its due and watch the teaser trailer if there is one. And damn, does it look good.
Yeah, I hadn't watched the teaser trailer, but it does look good.
Continuing real quick with movie news, Doctor Strange 2 has a release date, villain, and cast.
Really?
Okay, this is all news to me. So
Yep, apparently. This is coming from Looper.
spoil it, Remington.
Yeah,
Want to.
Knowing Doctor Strange 2 has not started production yet does not mean that Marvel has no release date in mind for the project. The Walt Disney Company, entertainment overlords, and owners of everything you love as a child previously announced 9 reserve release dates for untitled Marvel films between May 2020 and July 2022. Judging by how successful the first film's opening weekend was back in November 2016, it would make sense to assume that Disney and Marvel would like to try and repeat that kind of box office with another November release date. This leaves November 2020 and November 2021 as likely options, and taking into account the information currently available about Marvel films in production, it would not be a surprise to see the studio announce a November 2020 release date for the mystical sequel sometime in the near future, or the past, depending on, how strange you want it to be. It is possible Disney and Marvel could change these dates around, but it's hard to slow things down when that big money superhero machine gets turning. Scott Derrickson is back in the director's chair. There may not be an official plot synopsis for Doctor Strange 2, but plenty of potential story hints have been dropped by some behind-the-scenes people who are in the know. In an April 2016 interview with Double Toasted, Doctor Strange co-writer C. Robert Cargill stated that Marvel felt some of the initial ideas he and Derrickson had for the first film highlighted too much of the weird stuff associated with the character. To introduce the hero, they reasoned the original story would have to ease audiences into this bizarre world. However, Marvel did tell the pair to hold on to their more outlandish ideas for potential future films in the franchise. While talking to Den of Geek in 2016, Derrickson referenced Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, saying, "What made The Dark Knight so great was the original story of Batman had been well told, and then it was time to bring in a villain where you really got to go deep. And not just the Joker, also Two-Face. It was a more visceral experience. I'd love to be able to do that for Doctor Strange."
I think that's true. I think that Marvel has also proven that their fan base and even more casual moviegoers are perfectly fine with going weirder, because Doctor Strange did well, Thor Ragnarok did really well, and that probably introduced as many outlandish elements as Doctor Strange did. So Marvel's no stranger to this, but
Waka waka.
You got the jokes there, don't you?
I do.
So this article, this is really all just kind of hearsay and just bits and pieces that they put together.
Seems, I was excited about it, but it seems like it's all just speculation.
Yeah.
So who's the villain if they're teasing that this has been released?
Basically, they're prefacing these headers with for each of the paragraphs with questions or whatnot. Benedict Cumberbatch returns. Of course he would. He's fucking Doctor Strange. Benedict Wong also returns. Of course he would, because he's fucking Doctor Strange's sidekick, basically. Rachel McAdams might return. Okay, might means nothing to us. Chiwetel Ejiofor could return.
Well, if he returned, he probably would be the villain.
That's true. Tilda Swinton, might make another appearance as the Ancient One.
Did she die in Doctor Strange?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I haven't seen Doctor Strange.
You should go do that.
Is it good?
Yes. It's pretty trippy. The effects are fantastic. I think it's one of the funniest ways. I know some people were not fans of the end conflict with Dormammu.
Oh, how he traps him in a time loop?
Yes, but I thought it was hilarious because you've never seen anybody else do that in a Marvel movie yet. Like, I got the villain to rage quit.
Yeah.
Right. With Major Doctor Strange, Nemesis, Dormammu, and Mordo introduced in the first movie, not to mention the dispatching of Mad Mikkelsen's Caecilius, and Nightmare being rumored for the second, what other options are there for an antagonist to fight against the good doctor? Fortunately, Strange has been around in Marvel Comics since the 60s, providing a treasure trove of possible baddies to act opposite Cumberbatch.
So they have no idea.
So they have literally no idea.
They're like, oh, he's had a lot of bad guys, so...
Yeah. So this is what happens when I don't actually read anything before I start talking about it. we get a whole bunch of like, but what if, guys? What if this happens? So, Looper, you can take your article and blow it out your ass. This was a waste of my time, thanks.
Can we stick Looper in a time loop?
Yes, please.
Yes, give me the Infinity Stone. I'm doing this.
All right, here you go.
Awesome. Insert sound effects here.
I'm not doing any sound effects. Fuck you, Chad. Apparently, it takes me too long to get these out anyway.
I mean, it's just like 2-3 weeks. That's not that big of a deal.
This wouldn't happen if I were working with Mysterio. I mean, he takes care of his guys, and they can do this on the fly.
Do you have another story for me, Brandon? So I don't have to keep feigning rage.
This goes back to talking about Stranger Things.
Okay.
Netflix has responded to a new report that found its depiction of smoking tripled last year by pledging to eliminate smoking in all TV programming rated TV-14 and below or PG-13 and under for movies. The pledge comes just one day after the premiere of Stranger Things, the streamer's most popular show, which is singled out in the report as one of the top 3 offenders in on-screen portrayals of cigarette smoking. The other top 2 are Orange is the New Black and Fuller House.
Fuller House?
I don't know if this article is making a joke or not, because I've watched every episode of Fuller House and I don't recall characters smoking.
Yeah. Huh.
So I don't know. Netflix strongly supports artistic expression. We also recognize that smoking is harmful and when portrayed positively on screen can adversely influence young people, a Netflix spokesperson told EW in a statement. Going forward, all new projects that we commission with ratings of TV-14 or below, or PG-13 or below for films, will be smoking and e-cigarette free, except for reasons of historical or factual accuracy.
Well, we all know that smoking makes you 10% cooler by default anyway, so...
Yeah, so there's no reason for them to curb it.
No, exactly. I mean, I guess I can give them the 14 and below thing. There really is no reason to be smoking in something like that. I mean, it doesn't really add anything to the story. You can make a cool guy seem cool without making him 10% cooler.
Yeah.
It also seems like, and I remember kind of back when the MPAA made their first push to really alter like actual movie house releases based on their depictions of smoking, where they were threatening to hit a film with an R rating if it had smoking in it for any reason other than a historical context.
Right.
And then I think they backed off of that for a while and just said, oh, well, you're definitely going to be in PG-13 territory. And everybody had to put all these disclaimers like at the end credits or in the actual movie rating itself.
Yeah.
To justify it. It does seem like some directors take that and really put the smoking front and center, which is weird. Like, you can kind of tell in some areas, like, well, maybe you could show this character light up once or twice. But no, it seems to be a constant thing, like the camera completely focused on this person's face while they light up and take a drag and then go talk to somebody when you literally could do without it completely.
Yeah.
Did you feel like Stranger Things did that a little bit? Because I felt like it did with
yeah, kind of. It does with Chief Hopper. It makes it very much like, well, this is a part of his personality.
Yeah.
He's going to light up in every scene that you see him in.
yeah, exactly. That's what I got out of it too. And I mean, it's the 80s. Everybody smoked.
I mean, Chief Hopper kind of displays some red flags
right,
during this season, especially.
Did he quit smoking? Because that would be why.
No.
In fact, he smokes a lot more.
He smokes even more than he has in the previous 2 seasons combined.
He's got a stressful life. He basically was trying to raise a superhero,
and he kind of, the show
saw some pretty fucked up shit, you know?
Season 3 starts off with him in a little more of an understandable way, and then he just kind of goes off the rails and yells at a lot of people, does a lot of drinking, does a lot of smoking. He's kind of not the guy you'd like to take out on a date.
So I have that to look forward to, him going more and more off the deep end as it goes on.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Nice. Life's tough in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to it.
It seems to me that Netflix is trying to get ahead of anybody telling them what to do by self-policing this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that just means that they have, a good PR team. They're just like, hey, we know that this is a thing, and we're going to try and work on that.
Well, and they also have the out with the caveat of except for reasons of historical or factual accuracy.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I feel like you can show in a TV series or a movie. It doesn't always have to be a main character.
Yeah.
It could be somebody walking down the street smoking in the background
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of like, oh, hey, there's a person who lit up in a restaurant. This is obviously not modern day.
Right.
It feels like an easy way to make a character seem tortured or badass, in quotes.
Yeah.
To show them as a smoker.
Yeah.
It's like this person is channeling their inner John Constantine.
That's right, yeah. So, Brandon, earlier you talked about the Nintendo Switch Lite.
Yes.
But did you hear about the original Nintendo Switch getting a new processor?
No, I did not. Which makes me glad I just bought a fucking Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, right? I figured that this would just make your day. The original Nintendo Switch is also getting a new processor and new flash storage chips, according to filings with the Federal Communications Commission. The new chips could mean fewer slowdowns, faster load times, longer battery life, less heat, and perhaps none of these things. Nintendo submitted what's called a Class 2 permission change to the FCC, effectively a request to tweak an existing gadget without having to get the whole thing recertified for sale in the US. And there it vaguely lays out the changes. And then they have a screenshot of the update. To whom it may concern, this is to request a Class 2 permissive change for FCC ID BKE HAC 001, originally granted on 12/25/2016, and all its permissive changes. We changed the following points from the original model: change of SoC type, change of NAND memory type. CPU board is changed due to the above two components. In case you're unaware, SoC refers to the Switch's system on chip, aka the NVIDIA Tegra processor that contains its CPU and graphics, while NAND memory is more commonly known as the flash storage you find inside a solid-state drive. You should know that we're not talking about the rumored Switch Pro successor to the Nintendo Switch, the one that would supposedly accompany the Switch Lite announced today. This is very clearly an update to the original model, right down to the same model number, and Nintendo probably won't say a thing because it doesn't want people to worry whether they're buying the Switch with the slightly newer processor when they're picking up one at retail. The video game industry has a long history of quietly swapping out components like this, by the way, and often just to cut costs because newer chips are generally smaller and easier to produce. But video game message boards often get pretty excited about opening up consoles and looking for new silicon, because sometimes it makes a noticeable difference. The most famous example is perhaps when the 360 tended to overheat and succumb to the red ring of death, but models with newer chips were far better at resisting the issue. With the Switch, it wouldn't take much of an improvement to make a difference, given how the Switch's 4-year-old Tegra X1 processor is barely enough to churn through some of the system's existing titles, but there's no telling until someone gets their hands on a new model and does a comparison. So what do you think of this?
I think it's interesting.
Having just bought a Switch, does it kind of burn your butt a little bit?
No, not really. I mean, my Switch is running fine, especially if it's something that they switch out. I
see what you did there.
That they're going to switch out kind of on the lowdown.
Yeah.
It doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, if this was like an announcement for the Switch Pro, now launching at the same price of $299, I'd be a little burnt by that.
Yeah.
but I kind of knew what I was in for when I bought my Switch. There was already rumors swirling that they were going to release a cheaper version and a more expensive version.
Uh-huh.
So I made my peace with buying it when I did and getting what I got.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And, the article is correct. They do this sort of kind of low-key update all the time, just because as more titles get turned out and push the current hardware to its breaking point, sometimes it's helpful to just get that little boost here and there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if it's just, better heat sinking. Something like that.
I never noticed my Switch running hot or anything
Yeah.
in handheld mode at all, which is very nice.
Well, that's good. And you play it frequently, like you said.
Yeah,
so.
I play it relatively frequently.
Got me another one? Or Chad?
I don't know. This one might be a stretch. It's not exactly a news story, so I don't know if you'll want to cut this out or not. But there's kind of a dumpster fire on one of the LARPing boards that I'm part of.
Okay.
It's an argument that keeps popping up every now and again about whether or not there is inherent elitism between certain kinds of LARP and even LARPing approached how it is in different countries.
The answer to that question is yes.
Like, yes, there absolutely is. And these people are just kind of ripping each other new assholes over the topic.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's funny. Other times you're like, just set each other's house on fire and
Move on with your day.
don't drag us into it.
Right.
So where's the elitism come from?
There are so many different LARPs out there, and this is a group that is not specific to any one kind of LARP. The actual title of the group is LARP Haven, and it's supposed to be a place where people who play all different kinds of live-action role-playing games, anywhere from a parlor LARP like Vampire the Masquerade to something incredibly exclusive and high-end like this LARP that occurs at Bicoline up in Canada. And, you have your parlor LARPs where you don't need any props. You're just using the theater of the mind and maybe a bare bones rule book to run by and tell a story with your friends.
Yeah.
But then some LARPs, you have like exclusive tickets that cost thousands of dollars and costume and kits that you put together for these events that might only happen once or twice a year, but it's a 2 or 3 week long event. And you're putting $5,000 to $6,000 into your kit to be able to have an immersive experience. And that's much more common in like the UK and other parts of Europe. There are some really big, really well done LARPs with high production values, whereas in America, you kind of had this mishmash. You have some like very basic entry level LARPs like Amped Guard, which is completely free to play, and most parks in Amped Guard have loaner equipment that they will let you use and borrow when you show up for a park day. There's no expected cost up front, so it attracts a lot of people who either might be new to the LARPing experience or are familiar with LARP and don't want to spend money on it.
Yeah.
So there kind of get to be some of these combative camps in the LARP scene that might multi-game, and they'll throw out a picture of like, hey, this is my LARP kit. I'd like some advice on this. Or what do you think about this? Can I see other people who have like a more detailed kit? But maybe the way they word that sentence comes across as like, hey, I know American LARPs for the most part are hot garbage, but if any of you out there have spent more than $1,000 on your kit, I'd like to see your pictures. And then whoosh, it's just
the kindling has been lit.
Kerosene on the fire, lit the dumpster. There we go.
Yeah.
See, I think LARPing looks so fun.
And it is.
But I want to stay in a cabin in the woods for a weekend.
There are plenty like that. And there are some that aren't that far away from here. I know there's like a chapter. I keep hearing there is something in West Virginia. Nobody has really given me a ballpark idea of where it is. I think it's down around Charleston somewhere. I know there's another LARP kind of between here and Pittsburgh that's more of a high immersion thing that might happen once a month-ish.
Okay.
But there's definitely a wide range of games available in this country. Some of them you're definitely going to have to travel for.
Yeah. Remington, do you want to LARP with me?
Yeah, man. I totally want to hit you with a sword. I mean, be your backup. I mean, hit you in the back with a sword. I mean, shove a dagger in your back. I mean, lightning bolt. Sleep.
And there are some fun stories that I remember just from one-shot games that me and a couple other people decided to play at pretty much the last minute. One of the better ones, I think, was a group of us from the local Amped Guard Park decided to try another game system, and this was up near Pittsburgh, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. And we went up. Some of the people in that group were very welcoming. You know, we had contacted them ahead of time and said, "Hey, we play this LARP. We'd like to try this one. Is there any advice you have? Anything you think we should bring to our first experience? What we shouldn't worry about?" They were very welcoming, gave us a lot of information to go over beforehand, and streamlined our process getting up there. I haven't been back. I'd like to go, but it's just one of those things on a long list of stuff I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Right.
But we tended to stay with our own little group because we took a couple people from this area and then some friends of ours in Morgantown and went up. So there were five or six of us, and we were kind of keeping to ourselves because a lot of the people playing this game had established characters within the story. It's kind of hard to just go up to somebody like, "Hey, put me in the plot."
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
For one visit.
Yeah.
But we ended up stealing some people's treasure sort of without realizing that we kind of nullified their bonus for a dungeon experience. But in part, it was because one of our group was legitimately sneaky and waited for everybody to be distracted, then crawled through the dungeon while all the NPCs were out getting slaughtered by a higher level party, and actually picked a lock and stole the loot.
Wow.
Nice.
So he got the loot, brought it back to our group, and was like, "Guys, I just did this thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to do the thing, but I did it. We should probably get a game runner over here to see if I could do the thing." And so we just kept this loot box hidden. We're like all clustered around this picnic table in a tavern setting and waited until a game runner came over. And then we had this short little conversation like, "Hey, we stole the thing while the monsters were busy with other players. Can we do that?" He's like, "Did you do it?" Like, "Yeah, here it is. Here's the loot. It's in my hand." Like, "Okay, well then you did it. Whether you tell anybody is up to you." He
Nice.
just walked
That's
away.
awesome.
So we're like, "Hey, we're some of the richest first level players in this game right now."
That's cool.
So-
See, I would love to play one so long as there's at least a little bit of like, not hardcore combat, but I don't want to play something that's just so like, oh, you can't even poke somebody. You know?
Yeah, that tends to happen in some LARPs.
Yeah.
There are some that are just straight up combat games, and I guess you could technically call them LARPs, but they're really about just putting a stick in your hand and going out and hitting people.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
I want to play something that has a good storyline too, even if it's just as an NPC. But I also want to have, a little bit of contact,
And there was a lightest touch LARP where I was asked to pull some of my blows, and I was legitimately trying to be careful. I know it's entirely possible to get carried away if you're used to swinging around metal,
Right.
which I have on occasion done.
Yeah.
I've been part of active fencing groups and HEMA combat, but I'm not out there trying to take somebody's head off.
Right.
And I know in other groups, the way I was hitting this person would have been considered light touch, maybe not even registered
Yeah.
in some other LARPs.
Yeah.
So you do have to tailor what you're doing to include as many people as you're trying to play with. You're not actively trying to make the game tough for somebody.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to try and hurt somebody.
No, absolutely not.
But there are variations. There are some games that kind of throw some RP and some actual combat action. There are some games that are just really word heavy, and you might rarely, if ever, get down to a fight.
Yeah.
I appreciate the way some games try to incorporate fighting measures that can be skill-based to try and level the playing field for some people who don't actually get to practice fighting.
Right.
Like there are some systems like Alliance or Nero that give you a certain amount of abilities where you can say, well, when I level up this character, I'm going to take this parry skill. So if someone actually lands a hit on your body, you can say parry, and it's more like you're adapting a Dungeons and Dragons character to a live action setting. Like maybe you personally work in an office all day, every day. You aren't a physical person and you never get to practice fighting. So if you want to play a warrior character, it's going to be kind of hard if you're expected to actually pick up warrior type skills.
Yeah.
But that also can be a turnoff for some people who actively pursue combat sports, who then feel like all the training that they put into their character is for nothing because someone can just say a phrase and the skills you worked hard at to be able to legitimately parry somebody's blow and land a good solid shot
are just nullified.
Are just nullified by someone saying a word.
And I feel like that's something that you just have to deal with on a personal level. Like if you want to be involved in something where you've put in this time to learn the skill, then you are going to gravitate to the games where other people have done so as well.
You got to find the game for you.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm really just saying that as long as, I get some good storyline, because I'm a talker anyway. I like to talk my way out of problems. But if there were a scuffle, I would like to, be able to take a hearty tap to the shoulder and lose an arm, quote unquote.
And there are different approaches that games also take to how damage is dealt. Some games deal with it in numbers.
Yeah.
That can be a bit much to keep track of if you're fighting with a group of 30 people.
Right, sure.
So someone yelling out color-coded ice-specific damage might get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And I know there are some games that take a different approach to things like archery.
Of course, tabletop RPGs are generally turn-based. So a LARP would not be, wouldn't it?
I'm sure there are some that are. Yeah. I have never played them. I have never really seen a whole lot of them advertised as such. Definitely all the lightest touch games I've played are not turn-based.
Yeah.
So the blows are very light, and it's at real time, so you kind of have to do some calculation on the fly to be like, if I've got 57 hit points and someone's swinging 3 points of damage at me, and then I have another person swinging 2 points of damage at me, and a third person standing 15 feet away going through some sort of ritual that's going to do 20 to me by the time they're finished, I've got some math to do.
Right, yeah.
And really, most of those games that realize, hey, this is sometimes a problem, have a kind of rule of cool caveat to them to where they're not going to sit on top of you if you're off by 1 or 5 points. And sometimes if you're playing an NPC or a PC and you think you're close to dead and you're just like, well, they've hit me enough. I think I'm going to take that shot and then role play a death or a very horrendous injury, then fine. It helps add to the game atmosphere. Everybody gets to keep enjoying what they're doing, and you can move on with the story and the role play.
Yeah.
See, it all sounds awesome to me.
It is kind of awesome. There's a game, it's not close to here. I feel like you guys would like it just because it's a very wide-ranging setting. I might just go ahead and plug it because I like some of the game runners, and I don't get to play this game often because it's over by the Chesapeake Bay, almost in Delaware. So
damn.
It's kind of a haul from this area.
Right.
But the name of the game is Catalyst: The Lucid Dream. The basic setting, and I'm trying to truncate this as much as possible because there's a lot to parse in the game setting, but they have one game session each month. It's from Friday night to Sunday afternoon at a Girl Scout camp on the Chesapeake Bay, on the opposite side of the bay from like the Baltimore area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's over in Maryland, almost in Delaware.
Right.
And it's a gorgeous setting. There's lots of great water views, cool trees. It's a nice place. And the setting for the game itself is all the action takes place in a collectively formed dream world
Okay.
that is pieced together out of the subconscious of everybody who kind of flits in and out of this dream world. So it covers a crap ton of settings. And there are like 6 major worlds you can build a character from. So you can pretty much cover anything. If you feel like doing steampunk, you can do it. If you want to do cyberpunk, you can do it.
So you'd have like straight up fantasy guy versus post-apocalyptic survivor kind of person.
Yes, exactly. And the worlds that make this, the worlds that make up the setting where everything kind of comes together, there's this kind of semi-omniscient consciousness called the Soul Forge that just kind of grabs these dreamers and pulls them into this setting. So the major places you can be from are New Zygaxia, which is just high fantasy, Tolkien-esque, Brandon Sanderson kind of, just if it's high fantasy, it's in here.
Okay.
Right.
There's World War E, which is very Mad Max Road Warrior setting.
Yeah.
There's Planet X, which is kind of like 60s sci-fi, but humans are very much in the minority.
Yeah.
So a lot of bubble-headed spacesuits and
that's cool.
like beings from Alpha Centauri and all kinds of other things. So you can go apeshit in that setting if you want. There's Atlantis, so Mersapiens, Leviathans, and all kinds of tentacly beings. If you want to be from there, you can.
It sounds very like Heroes of the Storm if I were to equate it to something. That's
Yeah,
kind of
that's not a bad comparison. There was a steampunk setting with like a lot of werewolves potential, but that realm was officially closed off from the Dreaming, and I was there for that event. So there was a big thing of characters who had people from that setting who had to make a decision of whether or not they were going to wake back up in their bodies back home or whether they were going to consign their consciousness just to the realm of the dream and separate from their physical self and just be like, yeah, I'm going to live in this shared dreaming world now. So then that world was just closed off from the collective dreaming through plot and story hooks.
Yeah.
And now there's a new setting that has been pulled into the Dreaming called Neo Mukai. And it's very cyberpunk, body augmentation.
Ghost
setting.
in the Shell.
Yes. And like some of the characters you can play from there are not physical representations of people. They're hard light programs. So walking physical holographic manifestations. And so if you want to do any of these things, there's kind of a list of a few things that the game runners expect you to meet in order to portray those characters. So like if you're going to play a hard light program, they want like some electroluminescent tape on the edges of your clothing, something to indicate that you are a hologram and not a physical body.
Oh, okay.
So
like an H on your forehead?
Sure. But it's a fun game. I wish I could get to it more often. It's just unfortunately farther away than is convenient.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That does sound awesome.
But if anybody wants to check it out, there's a Facebook group for it.
And it's called what? Catalyst the Dreaming?
Catalyst the Lucid Dream.
Catalyst the Lucid Dream.
There you go. I will make a note to put a link to their Facebook. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Yay.
All right. I think that's going to go ahead and wrap us up. So thanks so much once again, Chad, for being here with us and talking about all the LARPing stuff. That's a great way to end the show.
Yeah. You're quickly coming up on one of our most recurring guests.
Yeah. Even if you count, you have to count the lost episode, though. in that.
Finally,
Yeah, that's what I'm counting the lost episode.
Yeah.
finally be the best at something.
It's not counting people we've interviewed, though.
Yeah. If you have any questions or comments, or you'd like to hear yourself on air, you can call us at 978 DU-OGRES. That's 978-386-4737. We actually got a call from the wonderful Mumfrey, which I will play for y'all now.
All right.
Hi, Dueling Ogres, Brandon and Remington. This is Mumfrey999. I was wondering if you might, for episode 200, put together some sort of cooking show. Maybe you guys could be the bread and I could come down and paint you with condiments like ketchup, mayonnaise, throw some pickles on you, and then I could be the meat and snuggle in between you two and we'd just make a wonderful love sandwich. Just asking and seeing if that's a possibility, guys. Catch you on the flip side.
Oh, my God.
Add it to the voting register.
Add it to, yeah, all right. We're going to make a meat sandwich with Mumfrey in the middle. That's the thing that's the thing. So if you want to vote on that, you can do that.
I think that's my new favorite call.
That's definitely a good one. Thank you so much for giving us a call, Mumfrey.
Yeah, that was
appreciate it.
awesome.
Fucking-
You need to call more often with your ingenious ideas.
Yeah, ingenious, weird, off the wall ideas. His mind is a terrifying place. You can also reach us on Twitter at Dueling Ogres. Email us at duelingogres@gmail.com or leave a comment on the Facebook page like these nice people, Brandon.
We had 2 comments on our Facebook page this week. The first one was from the incredible Viscount Terry W. Irvin II.
Yeah.
Who said it'd be a minor shift, but charging for one-time use plastics at fast food type restaurants would deter use and encourage folks bringing their own. Maybe even sell travel packs like on site Rem linked to in the episode, or the ones I used as a Boy Scout, or fold up, easily fit in the purse or pocket. Of course, properly cleaning them after the meal might be a big challenge, as well as a parents with a big family.
I think it's fair to say that if it has a proper like wrap around it, you don't necessarily have to clean it right away.
Ew.
You know, you just, well, I mean, you're not going to eat with it again. You take it home and you wash it. I have no idea what you're doing, Chad.
He's pretending to eat the microphone.
Oh, okay.
You get something in front of you, Sphere. You get like
I
a
know. I just
shape in front of you, and you just want to
God,
bite
I'm really
and lick
hungry. Foam looks delicious.
Our other comment this week was from the Diamond Man, Stephen Hines.
Yes.
Who said, whoever made that podcast list should have been your fuck shit of the week. Preposterous.
Preposterous.
I agree completely, Stephen.
Yep.
You should have won in all categories. Again, agreed. And I'm not just saying that because you plugged my Kickstarter campaign and author appearances.
Like a boss. in
Smiley
fact.
face. Yeah, you did cover that like a boss. Besides, I know you only did that so I wouldn't go all revenge porn on your asses.
It's true. I don't want to deep fake Brandon on my body.
Oh, God.
Ugh. That would be a terrifying mashup.
But Rem's cameo in issue 2 really adds some sex appeal that will undoubtedly bring in more female readers. Meow.
We also had a comment on the Instagram from Campy Stars who just said, "Woo, Chad!"
All right.
Is it Campy with a K?
Yeah.
I know who that is.
Yes,
Woo
you do.
Back.
Yes, you do. You know exactly who that is.
I have no idea who that is.
That's fine.
It's a fun local artist person. I'll have to
okay.
introduce you sometime.
I actually think you have met her.
You should bring her on the show sometime.
Yeah.
She's a fun bundle of sarcasm.
She is. Make sure to subscribe on our website at duelingogres.com for new shows and articles pertaining to some of your favorite geek news. I know that Mumfrey is actually working on another one. There is a draft sitting deep in the alcoves of the Ogre Den just waiting to be published. So I'm not sure where he is on it. I haven't even had a chance to freaking look at it yet because always freaking busy doing something. But you can check it out and check out all of his previous articles as well as some by Terry and some of our older ones, which they're not really current, but they're still fun to read.
Yeah, they still hold up pretty well.
Yeah. And finally, be sure to leave us a 5-star review on that iTunes because it helps to boost us higher in the cool kids list, or find us anywhere else that we frequent in the podcast realm of things, including the Radio Public app, which not only supports us by throwing in ads at the front and back of it, little short 10, 15 second things, but also is a really easy to use player for anybody who is just getting into podcasts or is already well established in them and is looking for a new podcatcher to try out. Brandon, have you downloaded it and given it a shot at all?
No, I haven't.
Are you still using fucking like Podbean or whatever?
I'm using Podcast Addict.
Yeah, that's what it is. You've been using Podcast Addict forever, and you even talked about how much you didn't like it anymore.
Yeah.
And yet you still continue to use it.
It's gotten a lot better,
Has
honestly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not crashing as much.
Well, that's good.
And I hate change.
I know. I know you do, buddy.
I mean, I'm still using Pandora because I figure you guys need an insider just to keep an eye on the enemy since they still won't accept you.
Yeah.
Those sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of terrible about finding new apps or ways to listen to podcasts.
That's because you just got a smartphone like 2 months ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of.
What are these newfangled app things? How do I download them? Do I have to be on the Wi-Fi's?
That was going to be my next question, was about the Wi-Fi's.
So until next week, Ogres, keep your clubs blunt.
And your tusks sharp.
Good night. Chad, you didn't good night with us.
Oh, good night.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Warning. The outtakes of this podcast get really freaking raunchy in some parts. So, if you're listening in the presence of children or priests or really anybody, honestly, you should probably stop it right now and just go about your day. Thanks for listening if you do. If not, get ready to pee yourself with laughter, because it gets real weird up in this.
Do you have to redo the air conditioner thing?
Yeah, I already did. It's focusing everything out.
Enhance.
I didn't know if I was going to choke or pass out.
Yeah, I saw you were trying to hold in that water.
Or spit tea all over the air conditioner.
Wouldn't be the worst thing that's been all over that air conditioner.
What?
I mean, like fry oil.
Oh, okay.
What did you think I was going to say?
Titties.
I mean, I don't know.
Sometimes you just got to put a bare breast against an air conditioner, Remington.
It's true. Sometimes you just got to cool down your boobies. Them boobies got to be cool as a cucumber. I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty.
Oh, so thirsty.
I'm the thirstiest boy. I'm the thirstiest boy.
I guess I should look over my notes and see what my stories are.
I guess you should, because I am literally bringing nothing to the table today.
That's fine.
I got that air conditioner and I was like,
Oh, I'm going to do an air conditioner instead.
oh, I'm going to fucking try and take care of my guys so they don't fucking sweat their titty tats off.
My titty tats, no.
No.
I thought I saw a titty tax. I don't have very many stories. I thought I had more. I just copied and pasted a lot.
I just have a bunch of random shit rattling around in my brain, so
Got them brain stories? Got them brain stories.
smack me hard enough, something's going to come out, I guess.
Chad, you could talk for hours about nothing. That's what I love about you.
Finally, someone who appreciates my true talent.
That's what
I mean, talent is being a little generous.
Jeez, here you were, all life affirming. You just got to take it away.
Yep. Take it away now. Oh, wait, let's give it away. Sorry.
Got to eat a bunch of cookies.
Gotta eat a bunch of cookies.
But you gotta tax a bunch of titties.
Gotta eat a bunch of macadamia
A bunch of
cookies.
titties. Scientists spot bizarre ravioli starfish in Atlantic Ocean. That looks like a ravioli.
Love it.
It kind of does. I'm hungry now.
The problem is
What,
with these
Bucky?
stories, there's such a visual element to them.
Did you see the giant squid caught on film like a week and a half ago?
Mm.
In the Gulf of Mexico, less than 100 miles from New Orleans.
There was a giant squid.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, you're like the epitome of manliness and intelligence at the same time. I don't know. I don't know how you're not getting pussy all day, every day.
That translates to if Remington was a woman.
I'd fuck you.
Wow, that was forceful. I'd fuck you. All right. Okay.
I'd fuck you.
Okay, cool. Take it down a notch.
Yeah, because I said ukulele.
Was she smiling at ukulele?
Was she smiling at ukulele when she said it? I love ukes.
Slow-mo mode.
And if you do want to bring up the fact that I'm not swimming in women, basically, have you seen like most of what's available in the Mid-Ohio Valley?
I mean, yeah. Although, to be fair, I've heard that in a lot of areas, we actually have some pretty good ladies comparatively.
Compared to like Wheeling, Nitro.
No, I'm talking about like in other United States.
I don't know.
I've shown some pictures to people in other places, and they've been like, "Wow, we don't have anything like that here." Of course, I think they were talking about the missing teeth, but
Yeah.
he said, "Tell Brandon to shut up. No reason, just say it."
Well, you gave a reason.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
His reason was just saying,
Playing both sides.
Yeah.
"You son of a bitch. You think you're going to play me for a fool?"
But yeah, my limited dating experience is dating someone for about 6 months or so in Columbus, then finding out they were dating somebody else, and they just waited for Facebook to let me know that because they thought I was a great guy, but they didn't know how to tell me.
Oh, man.
Usually by opening your mouth and using your words.
Yeah, words are kind of great.
Yeah, they work out that way. They were terrified of you.
And the rest has just been like me paying for dating sites that never turn into actual dates.
I thought you saying you paying was going to go a way different direction.
I mean, why would I pay for love when there are so many underappreciated podcasts on Patreon?
That's true.
I mean,
that need my work dollars.
I mean, at $5 a month, Chad, eventually I'll suck your dick.
This is going to be like episode 900.
A very special episode.
I'm pretty cheap.
Are we possibly looking at an episode 200 sort of thing?
Maybe.
Add that to the
I'm telling you, nostalgia episode.
we could get nostalgic about it.
Remember
the beginning of this podcast? Yeah, I do.
I'm
trying not to.
Remember 8 episodes ago when we just joked about sucking your dick, and now it's happening.
Make sure to mic the dick too. I'm picturing it like when somebody plays acoustic guitar.
None of this is fucking usable.
At a cafe.
This is like the After Dark outtakes that you have to pay for. I'll put this in a compilation. Fucking paid $10 a month for this.
Here's a joke about sucking Chad off.
Yes. All right. Let me pull up the script and then we can do this thing. Ba 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 Barbara Ann, Barbara Ann, take my hand, Barbara Ann. You got me rocking and a rolling, rocking and a reeling, Barbara Ann, Barbara Ann. Blah 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 blah.
I took a Klonopin earlier for my doctor's appointment. Then I drank a bunch of coffee, so my body doesn't even know what to do right now. It's like, are you calm? Are you jacked up? Who knows? Let's find out together.
Get out those percentile die. 5 minutes gone by, roll again.
It do be like that. Did you bondage tie your body armor?
Bondage tie? You mean tie like a fucking armor smith would? That's where it all comes from, Brandon. Before there was bondage, there was armor.
See, I think you're both talking about two different things.
I'm talking about Remington having sex with his body armor.
Yeah. This is actually called a bottle sling.
Oh.
And it's literally made for like carrying bottles.
So you put one end of it around the sack.
Yeah, you put one end around the sack and it keeps you from coming. Didn't think I was going to take it any further, did you, Chad? Fuck you!
You really went for it.
I had faith, but I wanted to get in there first. I've learned that life is short.
Life is short and you got to get it in there first. Funny, that's what my hooker said. If you don't want it smelling like fish, you got to get in there first. Jesus Christ.
I like how your hooker sort of talks like a 1950s dad. Oh, that's awesome.
Now he's reaching for my face.
Or your boob. Nipple.
That too.
I can't. No, I want to see the phone.
Fine.
Oh, okay. I'm your host, Remington Hitchcock. There may not be an official fuck my ass.
So
Fix it in post. Perfect.
I've been hearing these bats in this wall the entire time we've been recording, and it's freaky as shit.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Have
There
you
are
heard
bats
them?
in the wall? No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got bats all over my belfry.
That's
Yeah, they've just been
kinda
squeaking.
cool.
There's like a doorway right behind here.
Yeah.
Like a little tiny doorway.
There's
that
a little
leads up.
alcove that I would
That's kinda
absolutely love to turn into a recording booth, like just, a speaking booth. That I can't because there is a drop ceiling right up in there to section off the attic.
The guano.
Yeah, the guano. Yes, exactly. And they kind of get down in there as well, and it's. I have a large colony in my ceiling.
Have you seen the videos that people make of bats where they flip the footage upside down and put ballet music to it?
Yes.
'Cause
No.
God, those are hilarious.
No, I'm gonna have to look at those.
Yes, because they're great.
Huh. All right, I'm stopping the recording. Bye,
Goodbye.
everybody. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Chad.
Goodbye, everyone.
Okay.
All right, I'll just cut that part out. No big deal.